This is your weekend market recap for Saturday, November 26th, 2022.
Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well.
This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka The Trading Agent, and this is your weekend market recap for Saturday, November 26th, 2022. Hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving. Starting to feel a little better here. Gonna be an interesting recap. There's a lot going on in the market, a lot of data for next week. It's gonna be important. First and last 3 business days of trading months coming up. A whole lot of stuff. So let's get into it deep. Again, if you're newer to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do live trade, do a ton of live trade chats. Sometimes do the recaps live. Check us out on Twitter if you want to get in touch with us and get in the room. Message me, get me a DM. I'd love to hear your stories. Again, this room is not meant for beginners who are just looking for help. You can go to the educational trading videos. You got 53 of them. And if I was you and you're still newer, check out why the first and last 3 business days of the month matter. People don't realize that there's a lot of things that happen with these days, have a lot to do with position squaring, window dressing, markups, new money coming into the market because of a new month. Just what I would call an interesting time, because if you're not aware of it, there's just a lot of moving parts. You know, it's kind of like OPEX. Why do things happen certain ways? That's what the videos are for. Hopefully I can help you there. Trying to clear my throat, trying to get things a little better. Coming into this week, just be aware, you've got a lot of economic data. It's all gotten compressed. Tuesday starts FHA, S&P, Case Home Price Index, a lot of home stuff on Tuesday. Wednesday, GDP. Pending home sales is going to be negative, not surprised. I want to talk about GDP for a second, because a lot of people go, well, this is recession. You know, we're in a recession. No one's going to argue that, but here's the thing that's the problem about the recession and it not getting deeper. They're expecting 2.7% GDP next week for the second estimate of Q3. Apologize, got a lot of clearing throat and trying to get back to normal. Why is that a big deal? Well, everyone's anticipating a recession and GDP is going to be 2.7%. And I've said it over and over and over. If you keep looking at the details of the GDP data, you're noticing that every time you see a headline of 5, 10, 6, 3, $2 billion, whatever, going to Ukraine, it's going to be helping out the GDP, y'all. It's going to be helping out GDP because it goes into defense spending. Defense spending is obviously a very large part of GDP. Naturally, Boeing's going to be making planes, doing whatever they need to do. Again, I don't want to break down the actual defense spending, but that money is being spent and then be counted to GDP. So, is the economy really strong? No. Inflation still a biatch? Yep. But that's the point I'm trying to make, is that people are like, oh, inflation's coming down. Well, not necessarily. Also, too, you keep spending money. It's like for a full-on smash, you want to see the economy fall to crap. Well, the jobs numbers coming out on Friday, they're coming down. They've been in the 200,000 to 300,000 added a month. They're expecting 2. So 30% drop. We know this is probably only going to get worse as tech keeps laying off people. Hopefully more companies will start seeing, like Twitter, that you don't need these bloated workforces of people who just sit around and do nothing. Go woke, go broke. I don't know what they do. I really don't know how hard it is to run a social media network, but it seems like whether you like Elon or not, Twitter's doing it with 90% workforce cut. So we'll see if that matters or not. Point being, please be thoughtful. You know, I like to think the market's about to roll over based on the VIX, a lot of things, but it's hard to say because you have all the tax loss selling in what seems like October, November, and now it's December. Are they going to be buying back in? There's a lot of cash on the sideline. It's hard to know. So we got to be, let's run through all the evidence. And that's why if you're watching the video, stick around. You got to diagnose this stuff. If you don't want to spend 30 minutes on a weekend trying to figure out the market, then you probably shouldn't be trading. Let's just call it what it is. Bitcoin. Don't know. Talked about the stuff being dead. Some people are like gold, silver. There's a lot of stocks that just go dead. You lose momentum, you die. And unfortunately, that's what's happened with Bitcoin. It looks pretty much dead to me. Now, it's broken the trend line and it's holding the backside of it. But does that necessarily mean it's got to take off? No. It could be just this never-ending sideways pattern until something changes. I don't know what the factors are. If you are a Bitcoin person and you are anticipating some sort of news that could change the trajectory, let me know, because as of right now, I don't see anything going anywhere. I just see it set sideways. Get oil. This is where it's getting interesting. Remember, you have OPEC meeting on, I think it's Sunday, the 4th into the 5th. So this whole week could be a lot of choppiness. I don't anticipate it breaking below 76 and going down to 60 like everyone's saying. It's crazy. You check out the inventory data. There's huge draws on inventory. It seems like this is a game of chicken, and Russia's going to be, at some point, tell Europe, price cap us. Go ahead. We're not selling to y'all. So all of a sudden, you're going to have a shortage of oil everywhere, potentially, and anywhere that's not friendly to Russia, which, as we know, then Russia might try to oversupply the market, and then those countries might flip it. That's what someone keeps saying, oh, you can't get higher if people are flipping Russian oil in other countries. I'm like, well, at this point, I don't know why people would buy more than they need. I mean, how much are you going to make flipping it? I don't know. What are these countries that are going to be flipping it? China? I don't know. You talk about the never-ending COVID lockdowns. At a certain point, the riots are breaking out big enough there that I think people are just going to be like, stop it. We don't know. We know it's about control there. But at a certain point, I think it doesn't make sense to continue lockdown because everybody realizes, even probably with the World Cup, and you're going to see, you always notice this, like you don't see the markets crash during big global soccer and world events. It just is what it is. And I think at this point, again, repeating pattern, I don't know why it is. It's always been like that. This is the floor. This is the absolute floor, in my opinion. I don't think we're going to go much lower, and if it does, it might be a wick. I think we're still going to trade in this range with higher upside potential because, again, you can't create supply out of rate cuts and rate hikes and all these government policies. They're not, helping the oil supply, and that's what we have is a structural oil supply issue. And the SPR has to get refilled. I mean, the United States is, let's call it what it is, run by a bunch of idiots, much like most of the other countries in the world. They at least would know that we cannot be structurally undersupplied in the SPR in case there ever is any global incidents. So let's just keep that for a fact. And watching this price action at this major support, didn't think we'd drop the last day, but again, they're playing rumor games with headlines. It is what it is. Natural gas, broadening pattern, talked about it being strong. Higher highs and higher lows. Now, is it going to get there in a straight line? I don't know. I mean, people talk about usually natural gas bottoms in December. The bottoms in December. Yeah, I mean, it all depends on supply and demand. And this is the thing that I keep talking about with people. Like, pull your head out of your ears, essentially. Like, stop listening to the news and think about what's actually going on. Like, the investment in this stuff is creating structural deficits. This is the biggest problem. How do you get higher prices? Well, undersupplied, and then demand comes back on. If it stays cold, the winter, diesel shortages. I mean, this is a joke. I mean, this probably could be fixed very quickly, but just keep in mind, the powers that be who are running things, idiots. Dollar. Chopping. Talked about it. Peaking up here near term. Bearish near term. Been saying that for a while. Watching for the 200-day and old channel highs. Put in your notes. 200-day, low 28s. TLT, again, if oil and gas start ripping, What have the market and bonds done? They've basically followed each other, right? So here's one of the things, if you want to see the market get a little more volatile, you want to see potentially a bigger leg down, you're going to need to see interest rates go higher and the TLT come back down. We're up against some resistance. We talked about holding here, and then the next leg would take you up to here, around the 103s. I mean, this fib. The next stop is the 106s, if it is going to be more highs, which potentially could be, right? This looks like major resistance. Let it tap there, see what happens. The VIX, you're welcome. Only one who said I think the VIX could fill the gap when we failed to break out, because traditionally what happens, you go from the range highs to the range lows in a bear market rally. Here's your max downside target, probably in the 18s. I've said this many times, you don't just bottom in one day. It's amazing to me how quick people will just look into short. I don't know what to tell these folks. They just don't spend time studying the past. They don't layer in. They try to create very binary, all in or nothing trades. And I'm telling you, as much as I want to get short, I'm just still waiting for the first and last 3 business days of the month, trying to see what's happening. Because the SPY, in my opinion, 200-day in the upside target zone, in my opinion, 0.75 and another fib, trend line, all sorts of things coming into confluence up here. Just keep that in mind. Like, so if you're really itching to short, and again, we got really itchy to short too, and it ended up being painful. It just doesn't seem like it's right. Maybe you need the novice gap blow off or the novice gap run up. As of right now, this gap isn't the novice gap because you're making higher highs. It looks more like a professional gap as you go. And again, revisionist history, it's very easy to say that now. A lot of people thought this is the top. Well, you're making higher highs. Please, for the love of God, if you were following the Discord room, you're paying attention to this stuff, shorting, I mean, again, I even got stopped out NDAQ. Like, shorting just isn't the thing right now. Okay? QQQ's been lagging. Tech, we talk about, sucks. I don't know why I wouldn't get up to this 0.5 100-day volume at price, like node top. I don't know why I wouldn't get up there. Could it get even up higher? I don't know. The 100-day has been an issue. But it backed off, and it looks like it's trying to get right back up there. We'll see what happens. Now, again, tech short. Tech short, easier trade. Tech is trash. That hasn't changed. Warn people. Last November, lay off tech. All right, IWM. Here's your, now take notes of this stuff. Remember, talk about TLT potentially has max upsides. You got the dollar, max downside. SPY, max upside, 405, 410. QQQs, 290s. IWM, watch for lagging. Lagging, right? Here we are. Remember, we talked about the IWM, peaked first. Said this a million times. Remember November, while the market peaked in December, January. Here's the IWM. Is it starting to lag? We will see. I mean, does it retest? We don't know. But it's not leading like the SPY. Just red alert. Red alert. So watch what happens. It needs to hold the 20-month. But again, it can turn over and the market can still kind of continue higher. I don't usually talk about the DIA, the Dow, but this isn't bearish, right? Here it could be a broadening pattern, right? Talk about this constant not new thing, but this pattern that we're noticing in a lot of places. I'm not sure what that line is. Broadening patterns. You can kind of draw your own however you would like to. I mean, you could, man, if it is this one, that could be powerful. I mean, this is the thing. Remember, the Dow is full of more of industrials and names that were not lagging like tech. I mean, could it get up there? I don't know. Another couple 100 points. It's pretty, I mean, it's over the 618. So when you get over 618s, you typically go back to the highs or the next fib, 0.75. Or it's a trap. Just keep that in mind. It's worth watching. Gold. Said think it's going to bounce once it hit this like 161 area. Did not take the trade, missed it. Not surprised it bounced. I still think you can get up to the 0.786. We talked about this. 0.786s. 0.786s. The gold market loves it. If you're not familiar, go back and study why. Silver, holding up. Talked about it. Hold this like channel, like this support zone. You can see it zooming out. Lows, held it again at the 200-day. If it gets over it, probably going back up to 20s, mid-20s. GDXJ, a lot of people were, not a lot of people, a few people were talking about shorting it. I'm like, made new highs. Don't know why I wouldn't touch this support resistance zone. Maybe the 200-day, maybe the 0.618. Like, let me drag this sucker across. Psh. Man, I gotta now fix it from behind. That seems about right. You can see support equals resistance. It's there again. Keep an eye on it. GDX. Not looking terrible either. Now here's the thing. Now that we've wrapped through kind of the top end of the gold stuff, be aware there is a seasonal trend of what? This stuff gets sold into December into Fed meetings. Okay? Don't be surprised if it does that. Now, is this going to be the bottom? The bottom. Coming up in December, maybe. Talked about you get like this chop pattern and then a bottom. But could it be just choppy as well? This is what I'm more concerned about trading this stuff is that, the recession, higher interest rates, all this stuff, whatever, come into play. You get a bottom, but the Fed's, I don't know, again, it's not even like a pivot. You just get anything where the seasonality plays into favor. You could get that kind of move in the GDXJ. That's why I was like, I'm not really that interested in shorting it. Not that really interested because this is what happened in December last year. Chop, bottom. We'll see. Gold, same thing. We talk about the December bottoms are pretty regularly like a turd. Now again, that was the Ukraine blow off. I don't know if we'll go that far, but I would look for weakness. Maybe there's a bounce coming. AG holding up pretty well, channeling up. Upside probably low 10s. AEM holding up better. And again, the dynamics change. People are like, oh, but you thought this. And I'm like, this is what you try to do based on repeating history of the past. But things have to change. I always tell people, like, you have to be quick to pivot and acknowledge when you're wrong. I think a lot of people just want to pretend like they're just not wrong ever. And I'm like, you got to remember, the game is meant to take the most amount of money for the most amount of people. You are actually going to be wrong when you even get good at this 1 out of 5 times at worst. And then if you're not good at this, you're going to be wrong multiple times. So you got to be just like, all right, wrong, pivot, right, let it go. Right, good. Wrong, pivot, right, run it. Does that make sense? I hope people get that. I say this, I feel like people just still don't get that. Like, it's like, oh, but Dan, you said this, and you said, again, it's based on our best guess history, just like you're trying to forecast. Whether you believe it or not, if you're watching this, you're trying to put your own spin on it, and that's exactly what you're learning to do. But you're going to have to admit to yourself, sometimes you're wrong, because you can't marry a thesis. You got to marry your risk management. Again, AEM at the 200-day, I still don't like this deal they're doing with Humana. But doesn't mean it can't go higher or chop around. Like, this is going to get interesting going to the end of the year. Because remember, tax loss selling, I mean, the start of the year, I mean, it's a loser. So it's down below where it started. So these are losers. Like Newmont, definitely tax loss sold. Freaking monster loser. 60s down in the 40s. Yeah, it's down 30+%. PAAS. Waiting for these names to really go. I mean, so they got some gold, anticipating one more maybe bounce, maybe with this cap stuff. I mean, I don't know how the whole market's going to play out. I'm trying to. It's just, we've never seen anything like this before in the sense of recession, but no recession because the government continues to spend and they push the SPR out. I mean, all these things that you never see in the past. The market became so political. Do y'all see that? It's really hard. Again, PAAS, I mean, I wonder how much stock they have to pump out to get that deal. I don't know. AMD, let's get into tech because this is where it's like, watching the 100-day, can't get over it. Light volume week holidays. Keep in mind, it has a tendency of blowing off above the 100-day. It either hits it, blows off of it. Blows off of it, over it, we'll see. Sometimes it doesn't, my 100-day doesn't track. There you go. So, at this point, I'm not really interested in shorting because I think the market has a little higher to go. NVIDIA, we talked about it, holding the 100-day, probably comes right back to the highs. Here you go. Maybe even the 200-day. I don't know why this 0.786 has like no thickness, or this 0.75. It's interesting how I save settings and sometimes there's 0.75. Where's my 0.786? I don't want the 0.75. Honestly, I prefer the 0.786. Y'all know that. It's more of a fib number. I mean, I guess technically 7.5 is one of the fibs people watch. Okay, well, there it is. And there is not the line. No, we do not want stripes. It's distracting. There you go. All right, let's see what happens. Maybe it curls and it coincides with the 200-day. I mean, maybe it takes... There you go. It takes a couple days. Gets into December. That, to me, would be the easiest near-term short with potential. SMH, again, not even interested. Wait till it gets back up into the 228s. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But it just seems that the green is showing more volume, even though this crap, it just seems to be holding up. Maybe need one more capitulation. So I hate to believe if this is a pro gap, it means you probably resolve higher. Is this the island floating reversal? I mean, there's a lot of complicated, not even complicated, potentials. I just don't like that it's breaking over the down channel, y'all. And if it does, it means it can play some games before it goes down. Remember, the best way to draw in the bulls is to what? Make it look bullish. What's the way to top the market? Bring everybody in to think it looks bullish. I always tell people, sometimes that's the trap. Remember, at the lows, you blow out. And then it turns around. At the highs. Looks so bullish. I got to get in. Bam. Chef Emerald, gotcha. 20-day Adobe looks good. Probably comes back to the 100-day. Apple. It's interesting the riots are taking apart at the Apple plants. Now, again, we know Apple's working about as fast as possible to get out of China. Trump. China. He's such a goofball. Comedian. That guy's a comedian. He's not even a politician anymore. Everything he does is a joke. 20-day, 50-day. If it holds up, that just tells you a lot. Amazon. Retail sales stuff's coming out soon. We'll see. I mean, they probably had Black Friday on lockdown, sold a ton of stuff. I mean, is it baked in? I don't know. These companies are the backside of the Himalayas. They're not coming back anytime soon. People anticipating that. But it doesn't mean it can't bounce. It's just you're not getting back to old highs. Remember what happened. It took a while to flop out. So, these names just look dead to me. CRM, chop out to flop out. I don't know. 100-day. Goog, holding up a little better. Holding over the 50-day, maybe the channel, 107. I just don't have a lot of love for these names. They just bore me. Meta, gotta fire everybody. Still more to do. I don't know. Chopping. Microsoft, this one looks like you get up into the 270 somehow. It's breaking all these channels. It's $1 weakening. Could it get up here? I don't know. 260s, 270. I don't know. I mean, again, you put the number on it. NDAQ will be the biggest, easiest short at some point. Just doesn't mean it can't be a sloppy, choppy top if the market holds up. Give it time. Watching this, I mean, again, what levels do you want to short it at? Your guess is good as mine at this point. Let's remove some of these trend lines. They don't look to be that important anymore. Okay, let me draw them. Or remove them, I mean, let's... I was just thinking, I'm are we at the channel highs? Okay, you're over them. I mean, there's ways to... again, you can cut this a million different ways, right? It's just, man, up into the zone. Just let it play out. MicroStrategy. Give yourself time. Remember, the puts I had were March. Even then, I cut those. I'm like, still, they're not acting right. MicroStrategy. Is it MicroStrat? Yeah, of course. Man. Just dead money. But could bounce. I mean, talk about building a little base here near term. Look at all this volume capitulation potentially. Again, I mean, do I believe Bitcoin's about to break out? I don't know. MicroStrategy looks like it has a little bit of potential here. Netflix, love this. Love this action. Multi-day consolidation. Can go below the 20-day. It did once. Comes out of the base. Now, I'm not a long-term monster bull. But it was interesting a couple weeks ago. People were like, I am buying Netflix for the long term. I'm like, that's interesting. A lot of, again, I always pay attention to what other people are saying. I don't really follow them. I just sometimes throw the stuff in the background because it's kind of comedy to me. Talking about buying, they're saying, arguing that buying Netflix in the 300s was proof that it's going higher. I'm like, no, you don't buy at the highs, you idiots. You don't chase. Now it pulls back. I'm like, no, I kind of like how it's acting down here. You got your trend line, man. Give it a day or two. Or if you're building a base here, entering it, which I have no problem with, makes sense. Stops, risk management. I mean, what day would that be? The 29th. End of the month. And that's Tuesday. I mean, that seems weird, right? Why are the days 25th, 28th, 29th? Yeah, I mean, you could get it Monday or Tuesday. Watch it. Could bounce. Roblox. I think they're a buyout target, but man, they just look like grop. Every kid I know just plays this all day. It's so bad for their health long term. Whatever, I don't want to talk about it, but who knows. Tesla, I like this. You actually have a little bit of a gap with volume down here. If you ever talking about buying it, I'm like, I just noticed it. I'm not buying it. I'm waiting for 177, maybe 180. Or to break the trend line. Thing about Tesla is it does a lot of trend line breaking. And when it does, that's the best time to buy it. Why is that line all... Oh, that's right. Remember, it's split. Where is... if Justin Pulitzer's listening, he's the trend line master of Tesla. He talked about this for years, how the best time to buy it is always when it breaks trend lines. That one didn't really do so hot. It chopped, but then went nuts. You could draw these endlessly. Point being, this is a pretty steep one, so it could go sideways even after it breaks it if the market is not really going anywhere. But Tesla could get a little, I don't know. It just seems very likely that if this is a gap off the lows and it holds. Sorry, let me zoom it in. You can see it better. I mean, it could get up to 200. Not a bad move. Percentage-wise and make some money. Watch the 170. I mean, just watch under 180. Somebody bought it on Friday. I'm like, why would you do that? And it's just moved from 165 to 185, and you just chased. Hate chasing. Chasing, again, I'd rather miss a move than chase, because if you're wrong and it comes right back, I mean, you got to stop out immediately. And then you still don't know if you're right or wrong. Like when you chase and you stop out, you're like, well, am I right or wrong? Well, high and tight isn't necessarily bearish. Tough to learn new habits. Can't teach old dog new trick, huh? Yeah, you can. Talked about X holding up 0.618. If it breaks over that, didn't even think I'd have to rip this whole little blue box over. Come on. It's not there. Right in there. Maybe get up to 28. Doesn't look terrible. Oh, it's funny. It pulled it across, but then it like left where it came from. Oh, geez. You were just screwing it up. There we go. 28's come into play. I'm going to remove this line. Point being is, you can see the box. The box matters. Cool. Watch it. I mean, it's not acting bearish. I mean, again, these things that, like, the market doesn't look terrible. Just tech looks like crap. Nucor. Talked about hitting up in the 150s. If it could hold over the 140s, here you go. Going back up there. Feels like it. VALE. Now, again, this is all predicated on the market holding up. There's certain names that are acting better than others. Even tech is starting to float But even trash floats near the end. Remember that. VALE, I don't know. Talked about, I think it's holding up better. I just would wait for 10 or 11. I just don't like these. I mean, they're new country, new president, not new country. Man, just don't trust it. Arrow, talked about. Someone's like, it's a bear flag. I'm like, what are you talking about, bear flag? This looks like a bottoming flag. But here's the thing. If the market peels like an onion, you set your alarm for 8s, and it'll just be a double bottom retest. Like a monthly, like super retest. I don't know if I'd short it. No. Long it, trade it. Yeah. I mean, it's just again, I don't want to short commodities, short tech. Oh, but tech is it's cheap. No, it is not. These commodity companies are probably still trading on cheaper multiples than the tech companies you're supporting mentally as cheap. Yeah, I don't care if their stocks got smoked. Study the past. Cheap is not cheap. Remember, Livermore said, don't say something's too expensive because of higher stock prices and that it can't go higher, which is not true. I mean, if you watch Tesla, it went from, overvalued to incredibly overvalued to the valuation makes no sense. Or stocks go like VALE down to single digit 1 or 2 PEs. Like letter X might trade at a 3 PE. So don't even talk to me about that, bro. CCJ, the stupidest trade of the century, selling long-term puts out to June when there's a million other things you could be doing. You could have sold puts a couple days ago for December maybe. And then that trade just I don't get why people would sell 9-month out puts or 8-month out when the market is in a bear market and it hasn't found the bottom. That just boggles my mind. I have no clue how low this could go. But we'll see. I mean, it's just trading. It doesn't look terrible, but could it get back up into the 25s? Maybe if oil and gas and something Ukraine pop in, I don't know, 28s. Your guess is good as mine. CF. Loving these names. Holding up. About to break out. This is a big compression. Big compression. Big move. Remember, you go from 79, 119. Do the math. It's a big move, percentage-wise. Consolidate. Just like the bigger the move, the bigger consolidation. Well, longer it chops here, the bigger the upside potential. Now you're starting to talk about mid-120s. I don't even want to... I mean, I'm looking at the monthly, like drawing some trend lines just for fun. I mean, you can take it up to 130. Check this out. Let me pull you to the monthly. Oops. Here you go. Here's your monthly. I mean, there's a lot of ways to draw the monthly here. I saw someone drawing it like this. I'm like, yeah, it seems to be struggling to get over that. I agree, but if this is the month that closes over it, here we go on the way to higher highs. This looks bullish. We'll see what happens. Again, if the market melts down, you got to be aware. Nothing's safe. Throw the baby out with the bathwater. Say it all the time. Mosaic holding, basing. Doesn't look bad. Said NTR looks like a freaking beast. Well, it just keeps beast moding. This is the capitulation bottom. Backs up. Chops. Making new highs. Higher highs. Off the lows. Interesting. Aaron. Love this name. Acton. Comes down. Everyone needs aluminum. Aluminum, especially with all this government spending for military. Jesus. How much aluminum is in a plane? If we break this trend line, talking up to 58 pretty quick. I'm okay with this chop in action. I mean, now again, I know everybody wants to be right immediately, but it's like you chop maybe the straight line move, last little gasp up, I don't know, near term. It took a bath. There's a big dog down here supporting this, and there's a big dog buying it. We'll see. Keep in mind, I mean, the rumor that I think would get material names really skyrocketing would be Ukraine stuff, and then China saying we're going to stop these lockdowns, because I feel like they're wasting a lot of time and energy and resources. And as much as people like to attack China and think they're idiots, they're pretty well coordinated. I don't know what they're waiting for. Again, we all know, like, because we're on this side of the VALE, and we're looking at going, why are you guys doing these lockdowns? They're not going to do anything. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the deaths from COVID, now again, I don't really like talking about this, but they're showing like Vaccinated versus unvaccinated. 58% of the deaths have been from vaccinated folks. Whatever, 42 from unvaccinated. Point being is probably older folks are the ones who are more likely vaccinated and fully and all that stuff. It's the flu, man. It's the cold. It's gonna, sadly, it's always gonna affect the older population. It's called the immune system. It's pretty natural. It works, from what I've heard. XLF, talked about it. Can be bearish. Here you go. The financials are making high. We talked about broadening patterns. Here is one. Why? I don't like that fib. I don't really like the 0.75. I like the 0.786. Oopsies. And let's thicken that burger. We're not straight lining it. Yeah, there we go. Could it get up there? Always possibility. We're getting close. Again, put this on your radar. Oh, I forgot. I'll do that in a second. MS, Morgan Stanley, holding up, high and tight. Struggling in the 90s, not surprised. JP Morgan, have in my mind, maybe gets the 140. Higher highs, higher lows, things that aren't bearish. XBI, right? Holding up, high and tight. Holding up, high and tight. Right? Now, this is a hard stock, right? Choppy, sloppy. But that's what it does. I mean, is it good compressing to break out? I don't know. You trade it if you'd like. Solar, not looking bad. Talked about this 1,000 times. The more it holds up, it doesn't look bearish to me, y'all. Leaders lead. Sectors are acting okay. I mean, tech sucks. Talked about that. That solar is not acting crappy. ENBPH added to the Qs, holding up. Waiting to see what happens when it gets up to the channel highs. Sedge, man, even this professional gapped off with earnings. Not looking terrible, y'all. Holding up. First Solar. Wanted to short this in the 160s. Here we go. Talk about pivoting mentally. And just waiting. Saved. I mean, you could have tried shorting this 10 times and burned 10 times. I'm just telling you. How do you know to wait? I mean, just... The market's holding up. This is acting strong. It's a leader. I mean, you could have honestly, and people tell me, like, I went long it. I'm like, cool. No problem. I mean... Maybe it gets up into the two. I don't know. I just don't want to be the first one to short. I'm not stopping. I don't have stopping power. I want to see signals. Now I know light volume, weak, whatever. It's not acting bearish. Everyone's probably shorting it, getting squeezed. Squeezy. All right, well, just be careful out there. Let me want to look. HYG. Remember we talked about corporate debt? Making higher highs. Doesn't look bearish. Corporate debt's about to roll over. The market maybe roll over better, but look at this. It looks just like the S&P, but in a different version. A different iteration of numbers. Doesn't look bearish, but people are just trying to short every day. Okay. Oil. USO. What a freaking monster this has been. Like, you would think, here's the volume, here's the buying, and then here come the multi-day of rumors where the price caps are going to somehow stop. Again, you hear me frustrated, and again, the frustration is what? This happens all the time. Sometimes you just don't, you can't predict. That's why people are like, oh, I had shorter dated options when we were trading some of this. I'm like, please roll these over on the pops. If you did, awesome. I definitely did. Now you're back here hanging around the lows. Closing lows. Yawn. Stupidest. Maybe it hits the trend line. That would be annoying. We'll see. I mean, next week, again, OPEC, end of the week. Never-ending rumors, price caps. Europe is playing chicken with the bear. Russia's going to cut them off again. It seems very likely. I mean, personally, how I feel about it, them not wanting Ukraine to join NATO, whatever. The more I read into the situation, it looks like Ukraine is just a freaking, I don't even know what the best way to describe it is. A puppet for just embezzling. Money's being spent. I mean, who knows what the heck's going on there? I mean, military spending. I mean, again, I don't know. People don't realize, like, follow the money. I mean, I hate the politics side of it. It's sad that they're being attacked. But at a certain point, like, why wouldn't we try to, like, stop this? I mean, did anyone ever see that? Like, it could probably end very quickly. Send someone over there to really negotiate, sit down and lock them in a room and say, what do you want? What's the resolution? How do we get out of this? No, this is going on for months. And it, like, somebody making money off of this constant clashing. So, I hate to be political because I'm not trying to be. Like, again, I feel bad for the Ukrainians, but this is stupid. It could be ending tomorrow, and it doesn't look like it is. It's going to go on like a Cold War. And it's endless money embezzling and spending on Ukraine, where it's like, it's amazing. The people who hate war are okay with this. Just endlessly going on. And they're like, oh, it's Russia. Russia. No, Russia is like any other country. You have to negotiate. Try to figure it out. Put them in the bottle. I mean, never split the difference. Send over freaking Chris Voss to negotiate. I mean, it's not rocket science. Sorry, interesting topic, right? Nat gas, pop, flop, holding support, watching the close. Probably going to add some more on Monday if it comes down. I like this. We talk about this basing pattern. They didn't even have volume at the lows. It just based and then took off. Broadening pattern. You're welcome. XOP. Oh, man, hearing that this is the biggest short of all the sectors in the S&P 500, you got to be kidding me. What a gift. Endless shorts at the highs. Okay, we'll see what happens. Just all you got to do is like pretend there's like a stick of dynamite here for the bears, and I don't know who's got the match or the Zippo or the lighter, but oh man, we could go straight nuclear again. I mean, 122 up to 170. Yeah. What if that is just gonna replay again? Because you had a nice move here. But if it just reloads like this kind of stuff and it just goes, oh my God. Go check out the monthly. Let's get excited because it could potentially happen. I don't know why you wouldn't get up in the 180s, right? I mean, you got support resistance up here. No, we'll see. Oxy. Holding high and tight. Chopping. Nothing really to say. I mean, it's just waiting. ExxonMobil, you would think that this thing is going to roll over. Everyone's bearish it. And it's like, no, it's like literally just like there's a starting line. Do you see it? I mean, we talk about playing breakouts very rarely, like chasing. I hate chasing. Well, this wouldn't be considered chasing if you had, I mean, I'll show CF too, same thing. The more you consolidate and then you go, the bigger the move. Here's the monthly channel, but man, could we break out of it like a massive breakout? When I'm talking about like CF, like a breakout of a range high. Do you not agree? Like once you clear this and there's volume, it's going to go. So that could be the only time you chase. And I'd say chase, but again, it's a base. And I think of the base as like a pattern where you wipe out all the weak hands. When it's time to go, it goes. It goes, it goes. PXD, last but not least, loving this. Loving this. I had a little bit on Friday. Come on, breakout, upside target. Oh, sorry, I hate when I'm on the monthly. This is why okay, so I like PXD monthly. See high and tight. Sorry, I'm going backwards. I'll go back and show you the CF stuff again. I apologize. Here you go. Basing, chop, flagging, ready to go. ExxonMobil, I think I was on the monthly. Here you go. Take out this top. See how this is compressing high and tight. And I'll end it with CF, and I apologize. People are like, oh, you made that mistake, and they probably turned it off. Well, guess what? It kept going, and you got to the goods. Same thing. CF, consolidation. I mean, since August. If it breaks out with volume, it's going to be a big move. Typically. And if it isn't, you set your stop just under your buy at the breakout point. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. KISS method. All right. I appreciate everyone. If you got any questions, please hit me up. If you're making money, I'm telling you, real estate deals, I don't think the housing market's going to collapse. JP Morgan's buying $1 billion worth of investment properties. BlackRock's raising another like $50 billion to buy investment properties. Oh, the banks are going to be the country's landlords at some point. I would just like to be my own little bank. How about that? That's the key here. They can be landlords. We can become our own banks using real estate because it will appreciate. People need always a place to live. They do not always need stocks. On that note, have a great rest of your weekend. Talk to you soon. Hit me up if you got any questions. Appreciate the love, support, donations. Very generous of you guys. Holidays. Awesome sauce. Peace.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, the PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.